you. Looking at the pot, who is going first? It looks like Jonathan. He is shuffling his hands, doing stuff with his hands. So I think Jonathan's going first. He is opening up with a VIP battle pass. Now that just takes the pressure off, right? Anytime you can just have a VIP battle pass, think, right, not only do I get to get 2 basic Pokemon straight from my deck, but you also get to get a little prize search. You know, look through your deck, work out what's priced, so you don't make any silly plays where you try and make a play for something that's not available. And that's a great start for Jonathan.
Yeah, and just all sorts of different tools in different matchups here. There is a Drapion in the list, which won't be used in this, which we used in the VMAX. You've got the 2 Snorlax, which are great attackers, with a Choice Belt on, hitting that big 210, which is enough to take out a Stoutland. And then you've also got the Radiant Charizard, which through the Raihan and Twin Energy build that we see here, can actually attack a lot earlier than we typically see. Normally it's got that Excited Heart ability, which allows it to reduce the energy cost of its attack. But with the Twin Energies and Raihan, it can be brought out a lot earlier.
And the Magma Basin as well, letting you grab a Fire Energy from your discard pile and attach it to one of your Fire-type bench Pokemon. A real good way to accelerate energy and making that Charizard a bit more of a potential early game threat than sort of a late game sweep like we see normally. And here we see the Suin Heavy Boy. I don't think there's actually a target for that. He's sort of taking a prize and I can't have a look. But again, it's Suin Heavy Boy. Even if there is no target, you get to look at your prizes, sort of work out what's going on. Give them a shuffle, pop them back in. So let's have a look at Ileana's list now. Let's see, is there anything particularly spicy going on? We do see the 1 copy of V-Guard. That's not actually guaranteed in all lists, but it is there. I think apart from that, though, we've got Hiding Dark as the sort of extra coloured energy outside of Aurora, a 2-2 split on the Gust.
Yeah, it looks very similar to the Tord list that we saw do so well in LAIC. I think it might have maybe 1 less trainer card here and then the V-Guard in place of it. Maybe 1 less choice belt. So if you're familiar with Tord's list, then that's the difference there. But only opting for the 1 Luminion, some people going for the double fish,
True.
which can help because it's so key to find those supporters at the right turns. But only the 1 Collapse Stadium as a stadium bounce and the Lost Vacuum to remove it from play. And there's a Temple of Sinnoh, which is an interesting addition into Jonathan's list here, which will allow him to deny that special energy, especially the V-Guard energy. If it were to go on the Stoutland, for example, would keep it in range. So Temple of Sinnoh can be a key card on those turns. And so we do see that flower selecting process begin.
Looks like he's deciding between a quick ball and a switch cart there. And one important thing about that Temple of Sinnoh is that it actually makes the Stoutland a little bit harder to use in the sense that it turns off those powerful energies, which means the Stoutland might not be able to reach into the Comfey range while Temple of Sinnoh is out. So that could be an interesting wrinkle to the counter that is Stoutland.
Yeah, I guess it's the debate of do you put the Temple of Sinnoh down to try and deny the powerful colours, or do you bring it out after a V-Guard's been played to bring the hit points down of the Pokemon it's attached to? And with the consideration that V-Guard isn't in every list, sometimes it might get played beforehand to try and deny a potential next turn attack.
Yeah, for sure. I guess V-Guard only prevents limit damage from V Pokemon, so unless Jonathan was attacking with the Drapion, it wouldn't really have an effect. Yeah, but you are correct.
Me there.
You are correct. You are correct, though. With the stadium being used as a reactive to the powerful range on the Stoutland, it's really interesting, actually, because, you know, Ileana only plays 1 stadium. Jonathan doesn't know this, obviously, and I guess 1 Lost Vacuum. So if you're Jonathan to try and prepare or stop the Stoutland, do you put the Temple down, or when a Stoutland's happened and then you respond with your Snorlax, then do you put the Temple down? It's really interesting there.
Yeah. The interesting thing with that Temple is if it sticks, it can also deny the special usage on something like a Charizard or a Luminion, because they really need that Aurora energy.
Yes, for sure.
So there is some utility to the Temple of Sinnoh if it does manage to stick around. But especially on Lugia decks, they don't have a way to search out a lot of these key cards at the right time. So in the early stages, they can stick around because a lot of the time it relies on deck thinning and draw to find those important cards later on. So we do see Lugia here, both Archeops going into the discard pile. So all the plans in place. Sometimes, though, Lugia does struggle to get the Lugia VStar out, but at this stage for Jonathan, he has got 3 in the Lost Zone on the first turn without a supporter is pretty big.
Yeah, Jonathan had a real nice turn 1 there. 3 in the Lost Zone without, like you said, having to use a Chorus. That's worked out well. But looking at Liliana's start, she did immediately Ultra Ball away 2 Archeops. She has a Research in hand. A couple energies there. We saw an Aurora, I believe. So I'm not 100% sure if that Research is going to be sort of... it will be pretty costly. But to be fair, the Aurora energies outside of maybe utilising Luminion probably aren't the most helpful. We do see the V-Guard. Oh, there's actually quite a few energies in this hand. Opting to attach the Aurora to get rid of the Punkaboo. Oh, Punkaboo was a stadium out actually, but
there we go.
But that has gone. Interesting, we saw the Aurora over the V-Guard there. I wonder what the reasoning was. I guess V-Guard would always be quite nice, but I know we do see
the assumption is the V-Guard's not going to come into play, but the Aurora on the Lugia doesn't make a difference too. We said the Drapon is not going to be used as an attacker, but it does hit for 190.
It does.
So 190 plus Choice Belt would put a Lugia in range. So if there was a situation where that might be needed, Twin Energy isn't accessible, but there is the Raihan potentially. It's unlikely to be an option. There is 2 Mirage Gates in Jonathan's list, so having both Raihan options and Mirage Gate options.
Yes.
Very much looking to get those big energy costs down on things like the Charizard, like the Snorlax, and try and attack with those.
This camera angle is so good. We get to see exactly what she's targeting. Going for the Yveltal, interesting. I guess she hasn't got many other one-prize options, so Yveltal coming down nice and early. And I think, having a look at that hand, I don't think Liliana had a great hand on the back of that. I don't think I saw a ball search, and I might not have seen a supporter card, actually.
Yeah, and at this point, the chances of the Lugia going down are very low because you'd have to get to Mirage Gate level at 7. Raihan's not active as no knockouts happen, so the Snorlax and Galarian Zigzagoon Headbutt Tantrum strategy to get rid of that Lugia is going to be tough, especially with the Chorus Experiment now.
Oh, that's a nice full art, that one. All right, so what do we see? We see a Chorus, we saw a Snorlax, I believe. Jonathan's hand is not looking too great, so I imagine the Chorus might want to come down. We see a Boss's Orders, a Sableye, and a Switch card. Let's see which ones he chooses to Lost Zone here. It's actually an interesting decision. There's no obvious targets there, I believe. So it looks like Sableye is being sent to Lost Zone, or are these the ones he's keeping? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think they're going to the Lost Zone.
They're going to the Lost Zone.
The Boss is really important. There's only one in the list, so he wants to keep that. Where the Snorlax, there are 2 in the list. Sableye, there are 2 in the list. There are ways to get them back with Ordinary Rod. So them being knocked out isn't the final chance to use them. And this is going to be a key turn to get that Lost Zone number above 7 for Mirage Gate access. Just needs a Cramorant to knock out the Manaphy, but potentially with an Escape Rope, there is the ability to attack one of those 2 bench Pokemon, which could be an attacker in a future turn.
Yeah, I guess in an ideal world, you'd rather hit anything apart from this Manaphy. I mean, you would take a prize card. The 1 copy of Clara, I believe, is that one? Oh, the 2 copies of Clara. Okay, so there is 2 copies of Clara, so one of them has hit the Lost Zone. And like you said, I guess Jonathan's done quite well here. Lost Zone in cards, he has multiple copies of, so it's not the end of the world per se. Clara, obviously an incredible card when it being used with stuff like Snorlax and Charizard, so it lets you just get them back. Oh, and just no attack, no Cramorant. That's a bit unfortunate there for Jonathan. Liliana's Manaphy lives. Here we see the Lugia V-Star come down. We see a Capture Energy as well. Let's see what this Capture targets.
Yeah, and both the Archeops can now be brought in with Summoning Stars. So that Stoutland now is going to be looking to activate. And again, this is why Jonathan didn't want to too aggressively attack with the Snorlax, because that is the main way to knock out the Stoutland in return. Snorlax is out of range of that Stoutland knockout because it is too bulky. But we'll see the Stoutland now being powered up after the Summoning Stars. Archeops. We got that Capture Energy on the active Manaphy, so it'll be able to retreat into the Stoutland. We need to see 2 powerful Colourless onto the Stoutland and 1 more energy to power it up within range of that Double Dip Fang. And this is the main approach that we see from Lugia V-Star to win against LostBox. Yeah,
Stoutland's Double Dip Fang, in case you don't know, is 40 damage, but if it carries a basic Pokemon, you get to take 1 more prize card. So it doesn't sound too great. However, when you consider that you can start accelerating powerful colorless energies, you can start getting that to 60, 70, even 100, or even upwards, I guess, in certain scenarios. But against a Comfrey, all you need is 2. That means you're taking 2 prizes, and it really forces Jonathan to respond on this Stoutland, which is which he can do with a combination of Snorlax and Choice Belt. However, if this Stoutland does get to go free reign and can take 4 prizes unanswered, it really puts Jonathan in a tough spot.
Yeah, so we see the Snorlax is ready on the bench, but we're going to put the Comfrey forward. Just checking here, does have the outs to it, I think, based off of putting it forward.
Yeah.
And doesn't want to take the risk with no switch outs, maybe. Also might have an Escape Rope as the only switch out, so doesn't want to use that to remove the Stoutland from the active position.
Oh, there's the Choice Belt.
Okay.
Does he have a Mirage Gate in hand?
I think potentially might do. Maybe he was hoping to get off the Colrus. Only has two in deck, so it's not an easy out. It's not like the 4 Mirage Gate builds, which are a little bit more focused around hitting that 7 lost zone. There is Raihan, but can't be used now because of the Colrus experiment, so needs to find a way to accelerate an energy through Mirage Gate onto the Snorlax.
I guess Twin Energy could work as well, right?
True, yeah, Twin Energy
could work, but I don't think he's got Twin Energy in hand. And
there's only 2 of those in the deck, no way to search them out.
Yeah, so we've got, what, 4 total outs between Mirage Gate and Twin. I guess one more is actually prized, looking at it, so 3 total outs in the deck. I'm intrigued to see what's in Jonathan's hand here, because if this Stoutland doesn't get KO'd, he could be in trouble. Choice Belt is one part of the puzzle, though, so let's see what Jonathan can do.
The fact he put the Snorlax forward rather than having another flower selecting, to me, indicates that there was... Oh, no. So didn't...
Wow.
Was trying to get it off of that Colrus experiment. But instead...
Was that a VIP battle pass? I didn't see what the target was, though. But a VIP battle pass does come down. Always the easiest of decisions there.
Okay, so not ideal now, because that Snorlax was one attachment away with the Twin Energy.
Yeah, it was.
1 Mirage Gate away. So just banking on the Colrus experiment. And maybe with the Colrus experiment getting the scoop up net, in hindsight could have put the Comfey up, but for Liliana this is amazing, because Stoutland just going to stay in the active, needs to get that knockout, otherwise Comfey
needs to get those 2 Archeops in the discard pile as early as possible, so it can fling them straight back into play as Summoning Star. And you do need a combination of Ball Search to be able to do that. Here we see Jonathan open up with a Snorlax. Probably not the best lead, because you don't get any flower selections. We see the Twin Energy come down there, so it can be attacked next turn with 1 more attack. Oh dear. And we just see a pass over. No VIP battle passes, nothing like this.
I mean, it's not the worst, because Lugia can't get an instant knockout on that Snorlax, but it does look pretty bad for that lost zone number building up. We have mentioned the advantage with this deck is that you have access to Raihan, so you don't necessarily need to get to that Mirage Gate number to be able to power up your Pokemon, but realistically, a Snorlax attacking this early does put you in a rough position, because you don't have that deck thinning that you want to see with the Lost Engine. You don't have that access to Sableye, the access to Mirage Gates, access to Cramorant, and so no Lost Zone cards in this first turn. Not ideal, but Lugia just doing that first deck search, which is going to see that there's a lot of searching outs are gone, but it doesn't mean the Archeops and Lugia VStar combination is not possible.
No, and I'm sure Liliana would have played games this weekend where she's had Ball Search cards or Archeops prized, and to be fair, all you need to do is just get 2 in the into the discard pile as soon as possible, and just fling them straight back into play. Haven't really seen the rest of her hand, I think, but hopefully we'll get a shot of that at some point. But
sometimes you only need the 1, especially if you're going down the Stoutland route, because it's 3 energy attack cost, so you can manually attach 2 through the Archeops. So if it does come down to it next turn, and there's still only 1 Archeops in the discard pile, the tempo of putting that 1 in play is often better than the 2. But Professor's research is almost definitely going to put in a good position here.
Ooh, that's interesting. Oh no, she can use Reap the Wind to get that second Archeops in the discard pile. So the attack on Lugia there, coming in the clutch. We do see 1 Archeops in the hand, getting discarded, Reap the Wind, and she has the Lugia V-Star ready to go in hand. So this is a good start for her. Look at that, the staff quick balls there as well.
Yeah, everything you need for next turn. So disruption would be needed here for Jonathan, but not much disruption in the lost boxes generally. Not a single Marnie. So this hand is going to stick for Liliana, so going to have access to that full strategy. And we see there the Battle VIP pass and the Drapion going into the Lost Zone. So that Drapion not available in the discard pile now, which is fine. Doesn't really get used in this matchup ever.
Does he have the Choice Belt in hand? Because there's a world in which you can go Ziggy, Choice Belt, KO on this Lugia, right? But
yeah, Headbutt Tantrum and the Zigzagoon gets that 10 damage needed. The Choice Belt on the Snorlax only hits 210. Needs to find a little bit more than that, but as we mentioned, this deck is very thick right now. So finding those exact outs is going to be tough. But with the Quick Ball, if there's a Choice Belt there...
I think there is that last card on the left on his hand.
Oh my!
I think it might be. It's hard with all these gold cards. We can only see a little bit.
Loves his bling, does Jonathan?
Yeah, it does look very nice. To be fair, it does look very nice.
The Twin Energy as well for a future Raihan play on a Snorlax. So that's maybe why he's thinking about this Clara. He's trying to work out how do I get Snorlax back if I use Clara, but I can't use Raihan, all this kind of stuff. So we'll be looking to get that Zigzagoon now.
Let's see if he does go for it, or maybe he just opts to go swing for a normal 180 and actually, you know, get like a Comfey down or something. Because as well and good as that turn would be, it probably just gets responsed by the next Lugia or anything like this. So it's an interesting decision. You could go greedy, but then you might not have a good setup afterwards. As it stands now, 2 cards in the Lost Zone turn 2 isn't the greatest.
Yeah, he might be banking on the idea of Raihan on the next Snorlax or something.
We see him move to. He's thinking about. You can tell that he's moving to the point. Thinking,
He's got the Twin Energy and Raihan in hand, which would be able to power up even maybe a Charizard. With, I mean, it would need a little bit more again, but you know, taking 2 prizes does give you access to more cards. So, you know, there is potential there. That by putting the Zigzagoon down, you do have another basic, so you're not going to get taken out of the game for a donk. So, you know, it does work. And at this point, you do have to get those tempo attacks off. And attacking with Snorlax is safe from Stoutland as well. So no Comfey in play means the Stoutland route to get the prizes is not there. So an interesting route. Definitely not one that Jonathan would normally go for. But just based off of his starting hand, will have to be the route he is taking. As we see that 210 from the Snorlax.
and there it is.
Thumping Snore plus Zigzagoon. And it's going to stay asleep there to the left. Yeah, Jonathan will know that. He's done enough judging where he'll know what sleep looks like. So sleep to the left, and then that knockout coming through.
Yeah, and that's very nice. The turn to 2 prizes for LostBox. Not something you see or hear very often, but like you said, you know, Jonathan needs to win 2 games, opting to maybe play maybe a slightly more aggressive line of play to try and win this out. Liliana, though, we know, had a cracking hand. Got a Charizard there, got the Lugia down. Might even opt to even get the KO of the Charizard, leaving a 1 prizer in the active, since, you know, Jonathan has taken 2 prizes now, so Excited Heart brings that energy cost down by 2, making it not as costly to use the Charizard.
Yeah, and Charizard will get the knockout on the Snorlax, but then would have to stay in the active potentially, or get manually retreated through all those energy, and then that's when we start thinking about energy resources and where they are. But at the end of the day, Liliana sees this board state for LostBox and knows that it's not a consistent one. Yeah. So the tempo play right now is so key to try and disrupt it as much as possible.
Yeah, that's right. Even though Jonathan is 2 prizes up, like you said, the board state isn't the strongest. You know, 2 cards in the Lost Zone, which means Mirage Gates are probably not going to be a factor next turn. You know, no Comfey, there's definitely going to be no Sableye. The worst that can happen is maybe a Crymarant after a Chorus. Not the end of the world. Crymarant doesn't even hit for weakness, so the Charizard would be safe from that. Almost every attacker here actually in play would be safe from that, apart from that of Yveltal. So, yeah, it's looking like a very good situation for Liliana, at least for now.
Yeah, I guess the Lugia VStar might be good to use now because it can tank a hit.
Yeah.
But then equally, like you said, the Charizard would then mean a 1 prizer in the active. So it'll be interesting to see which route Liliana takes. And this deck has got some nuance to it. You'd have to think through which energies you take, the resources, which attacker you use. And it does look to be that a active Lugia V-Star is going to be used. Powerful colorless, V-Guard, essentially useless in this matchup. Double turbo energy, cancelling out that 20 damage. So it's going to be doing 220 onto the Snorlax, more than enough for the knockout. And we'll put that Zigzagoon into the active.
Yeah, we see the hiding energy on the Yveltal, just so Liliana has a free retreat now for the rest of the game. So obviously hiding energy is extra effect when it's attached to a dark Pokemon. It gives that dark Pokemon free retreat as well. So I doubt we'll be seeing the Yveltal be used for an actual attack because it only takes 1 prize in this matchup for the most part. But now at least Liliana has a pivot for the rest of the game.
Okay, I think if there was a top deck of a ball search, we could have seen another Snorlax attack come off. But I think it might even be a Raihan attachment to the Zigzagoon to start finding things, which is not ideal. But that is an option to at least stay in the game. We do have that twin energy that could be used. And yeah, it looks like Raihan.
Right, yeah.
And that's going to try and teeter out some useful card. But I can't see right now if there's any card that can start a massive chain. You can get a Comfey out and retreat into it and start flower selecting. But realistically, this is not a strong position.
Yeah, there's not like a sort of an immediate 1-card answer here. Like, you can't go for a research here. You've already played the supporter. I think you're right. The best card here is just going to be a retreat into Comfey. Comfey lets you look at the top 2, and then you can, you know, start trying to get to work. But this Lugia isn't going anywhere anytime fast. You know, Lugia's Tempest Dive has no drawback. You can just keep attacking again and again and again and start, you know, putting on pressure. And, you know, if Jonathan can't respond anytime soon, then you know, I can even bring that Stoutland down. You know, there's one Snorlax in the discard pile. Raihan's gone. Could be harder to maneuver into a next Snorlax as far as she's aware. So the Stoutland might start coming down, putting on pressure. I see one Choice Belt's already gone for Jonathan, so only one left in deck. So not looking great. Here is this Flower Selecting, no. Potentially game saving.
Hey, there's a Chorus Experiment, which will be useful next turn, but no utility now. A Fog Crystal can find out another Comfey, but I don't think there's a switch out available. Getting rid of Chorus Experiment into the Lost Zone is never an ideal flower selecting, but on this occasion, finding more Comfey is so vital. And it's going to be an attempt. Maybe it'll be just there for the post-knockout push forward, but yeah, it's not looking good right now for John. That's what we said, that Snorlax. Yes, it's great to get that early knockout, but the board state was not a favourable one for the LostBox.
Yeah, and even then on that decision, if you was going to go for the KO, you just quick ball out a Comfey to have to get promoted afterwards. I mean, that's not even particularly great either. The lack of VIP Battle Pass really showing how strong. Oh, there was a good
there was one.
Really showing how important VIP Battle Pass is. Let's see what this 2 was. Ooh, get a look. These gold cards are very nice, though, aren't they?
Yeah, a little bit of a decision here needed. So not an obvious. So that's a Comfey going into the Lost Zone, and another Comfey placed down. Switch cart.
I'm guessing switch cart was off.
Yeah, I think so. So
here we go. We do start seeing a little bit of turbo, and we might see a Quam right in here. You know, into the Lugia. At least applying some offensive pressure. That's probably the easiest decision, unless it.
Heavy ball.
Heavy ball. There is a Comfey in the prizes that you could opt to take. I imagine you probably do.
Yeah, you may as well. It's potential for another out next turn. I don't think he's got any more switch outs, though. He's already attached. No, he attached via Raihan. So he does have technically an attachment for turn. It would be that Twin Energy, though, which is not an ideal attachment for a retreat. But in theory, could go into another Comfey at this point. So the Cramorant attack, which is important on that Lugia VStar to put it in range of your other attackers, might be possible here, but I think it would be very tough to get to. Oh, there was a Fire Energy there to retreat, so the Twin Energy still in hand.
And here we see another Flower Selector. So that Lost Zone counter is starting to. Was that Escape Rope and a net?
Escape Rope net. So still no access to that attack.
I think you probably prefer net, I think, in this scenario. Yeah, because the Escape Rope might let Liliana start attacking with the Charizard or even Archeops maybe. You want to try and put damage into this Lugia for sure.
It also just put the Yveltal into the active, which would then just free retreat into whatever they want. So yeah, we do see a pass there. So some progress into filling up that Lost Zone, but no ability to get damage on board. And you know, at this stage, there is always a way for LostBox to come back in some way. But against of all decks, doing it against Lugia, Lugia has so much utility. Especially with that Stoutland being able to take 2 prizes in a turn, can really put some pressure on. And we see that Capture Energy going down the Archeops. Wouldn't be surprised if we see that Stoutland attack come out now, aggressively start taking prizes, put that clock much faster through Jonathan's prizes, and start the game going in favour of Liliana.
Yeah, I wonder if this will be the Stoutland turn. Like, you know, the Lugia can retreat. The Lugia is actually kind of runnable in a sense that, you know, a Charizard plus Choice Belt would actually KO it, you know, going through the V-Guard and all that. And here we do see the Stoutland, so at least you can use a Stoutland to take some extra prize cards there. And let's see what she opts to do.
Yeah, just thinking back to that Comfey turn, there was...
Oh, I think there actually might have been.
Yeah,
there was a Raihan
retreat, the Zigzagoon
retreat, and then the Comfey retreated with the Fire Energy. So there was, I think, a potential double retreat there from Jonathan.
So we'll see if the judges can maybe look into that. But right now we're just playing through Liliana's turn. So that Stoutland all powered up will be going into the active spot. So you see the Stoutland is going to be attacking there. And that's going to take 2 prizes on the Comfey. And the main thing here is Stoutland for the return knockout is incredibly scary because it needs to be knocked out, and this LostBox build that Jonathan is showing is key to beating Stoutland. There is that Snorlax, the Raihan, all available to get that return knockout on a Stoutland, but we can see the current position, the board state. There is not many options available to Jonathan with Comfey in the active spot, flower selecting. We saw the hand, not a huge amount of options there. So we're just waiting now. As Liliana's going to check that discard pile, see what's going on there. We know there's another Snorlax in the deck. Charizard is a potential option there too. And still in favour of Liliana, I think.
Yeah, Liliana's in a strong position here. I'm not 100% sure if the judges are aware yet, but looks like the judges have been alerted of that potential double retreat, so they're just going to look into.
Won't be hittable with a Mirage Gate powered up attacker early on. So we see here we're back in the game, and it looks like it is Jonathan's turn here, as we. I think the Stoutland took its knockout, and it's back to Jonathan on his turn, and so we'll find out exactly what the ruling was with the judge. But yeah, we were mentioning the Raihan route. It allows you to power up an attacker before you've hit 7 in the lost zone, which is so key against Stoutland because it could come out earlier than you've got stuff in the lost zone available.
And speaking of the Charizard, we've mentioned it a little bit before. Here it comes now. You know, Liliana has taken some prizes, so they're excited. Always here, Temple of Sinnoh as well. Not 100% as effective now that Stoutland's gone because Lugia, you know, hits for 220 anyway. Oh wait, the Temple of Sinnoh stops the twin. Is that relevant?
I think because it counts as one colourless
energy. It counts as
energy.
one colourless still, so there's 2 attacks. She's taken 3 prize cards. It attacks for 5 energy in total. That should be okay still, yeah. It still counts for 1. Got a bit worried there for a second, but no, it's fine, it's fine.
You sometimes wonder when people make those decisions how much Jonathan knew about that before. Are you No, I understand. So yeah, he gets the twin energy on there. So we see a fire energy on the Charizard, a twin energy, and that's going to be a Lugia powered up in the active spot is going to get that return knockout because there was a double prize penalty against Jonathan. There was only 1 prize left needed for Liliana, and so she's able to get that 1 prize through the Charizard there.